Hello everyone, welcome. In today's video, we're going to talk about discourse and stylistic as methods of analysis. But before we get into the explanation, let me introduce my team members to you. My name is Dusri Faturamasi, and there are Salah Nurhalina, Kiki Putri, Juliana Firmangfiroh, and Salsabila Zahra. So, let's get to the explanation, shall we? Discourse and stylistics are two different but closely related linguistics disciplines that are inseparable. Discourse is communication. Stylistic, on the other hand, is concerned with the study of the pattern and style of what is communicated. So, what is discourse? The word discourse comes from Latin discoursus, which denotes conversation, speech. According to Stubbs, discourse is meaning communicated far above what is said. So, discourse analysis is the process of understanding a text by paying attention to everything that gives meaning to a text. Text is everything that is written or spoken by the speaker, such as, "Hello, the book is here." Therefore, we can say that discourse is essentially the study of language and use. Discourse was fully developed in 1970s as a critique of cognitive process in communication. It becomes very impossible to understand the linguistic items used in discourse without a context. Discourse, which is viewed as social performance or a social action, is a relative social phenomenon that depends solely on a wide range of disciplines, such as psychology, anthropology, philosophy, anthropological linguistics, and cognitive. From the linguistic perspective, discourse is composed of a wide range of disciplines, such as stylistics, pragmatics, conversational analysis, and speech-act theory. To know it more deeply, shall we? Discourse is not same as discourse analysis. Why? Because discourse is communication. Discourse analysis is a way of analyzing communication. It basically studies and examines how an addresser structures his linguistic messages for the addressee and how the addressee in turn uses some linguistic cues to interpret the messages. When discourse analysis becomes more critical, it becomes critical discourse analysis. Social context plays a vital role in generating meaning in a discourse. In fact, it determines the meaning that is to be communicated. Similarly, certain contextual factors equally shape the language people use. These are the interlocutors themselves, their discourse roles, and the physical environment of the discourse, their worldview and cultural practices in the domain of the discourse. So, discourse analysis considers language used together with the aforementioned factors to determine meaning. It also generates data for analysis based on the observation and the intuition of the language users. It is also believed that a discourse analyst can analyze virtually every conversation, like telephone, speech, campaign, and so on. Discourse analysis picks up from where stylistics stop. The tasking questions discourse often asks are, what makes the speaker or writer use language the way he or she does? How does the hearer or reader interpret what the speaker or writer says or writes? Of course, this is where discourse shares a common boundary with pragmatics. So let's talk about basic concepts in discourse. There are a few basic concepts in discourse. The first one is text. In discourse, text simply means any instance of language in use. This comprises not only written language but also spoken language. A text could be as small as a word or sentence and could also be as large as a paragraph, so it could equally be a whole chapter, a news item, or a conversation. A text is meant to have a texture. Texture, as used here, is the parameter that distinguishes a text from something that is not a text. Okay, the next is coherence and cohesion. Coherence concerns with sentence in a text. That is to say that when a text makes sense to a reader or a hearer, it is said to be coherent. And cohesion is a Latin word for striking together. It relates to how texts are held together lexically and grammatically as a whole. So the following example can be used to illustrate coherence and cohesion. Mr. Oko slapped his wife. His wife didn't cook for him. This sentence is coherent but it's not cohesive. Okay, the next example. Mr. Oko slapped his wife because she did not cook for him. This is the perfect example of coherent and cohesive. Why? Let me tell you. The conjunction because and the pronoun she and him in the second text are cohesive ties or devices employed to enhance coherence and cohesion in the text. They are conjunctive cohesion and reversal cohesion respectively. Coherence in discourse manifests by the extent to which a particular instance of language in use is able to match a shared belief, knowledge, and social conventions of interlocutors in social contexts. Coherence in discourse relates basically to the establishment of some relationship between utterances through an interpretation of illocutionary acts. That is the crux of coherence in discourse. Okay, so the next we would like to talk about context. So what is context? Context is a set of facts that surrounds a particular situation. Viewed from the angle of linguistics, context means everything that surrounds the production and reception of a piece of communication. Communication is better understood in context. Already know about discourse and discourse analysis. Now let's move to another one, stylistics. What is stylistics? Stylistic, in a simple sense, refers to the study of style and pattern of use by a writer or speaker. It is a term that is mostly associated with the literary genre. A literary genre can be seen as style characteristics that are collectively recognized and agreed upon. Stylistics primarily attempts to explain the principles that informed the choices made by communicators. The study of style is central to stylistics. It is a selection and arrangement of linguistic feathers which are open to choice, a choice of words and expression by a particular person in a particular situation. Stylistic is particularly important because it enhances and maximizes our enjoyment of a text. A stylistic analysis of a text in most cases reveals the good or the bad qualities of a writing or speech. So, nature of stylistics. As I've told you before, stylistic is a study of style of a text. It looks at style in so many dimensions, include style as a choice. That means style as a choice the speakers or writers make in a text that make it stand out. The stylician is responsible for identifying such a style in his analysis. And the second one is style as deviation. Poet has poetic license to deviate from acceptable norm to use language in a way that pleases him. And the next, style as situation. Style could be adopted by a speaker or writer based on the situation in question. And then next, style as the individual. There are specific feathers that are associated with a particular speaker or writer due to his choice of style. And the next is style as time or era. This has to do with time relevance of a style. Style decides whether a particular style is in vogue or obsolete. Okay, now let's talk about text analysis and stylistics. In analyzing a text, the business of a stylistician is to look at many feathers of a text. Here are the feathers. The first one is graphological feathers. This concerns the physical appearance of a text. This can be identified by looking at words in italics, capital letters, bold letters, words that are underlined, and so on. The use of punctuation marks can equally create stylistic effects. And let's talk about syntactic feathers. The focus here is on sentence types and the effect they create in a text. Aspects of ellipses, parathesis, hypothesis, right and left branching sentences are equally considered significant. For example, a dislocation in a syntax of a text could mean a dislocation in human thoughts. And the next one is lexicosemantic feathers. Words may be used by the speaker or writer to produce connotative, denotative, associative, collocative, affective, thematic, idiomatic, and even stylistic meanings. And the next one is discourse and stylistics, which is methods of analysis. Discourse and stylistics are two linguistic disciplines that are analyzed using different methods and tools. The text is the object of analysis for both the discourse analyzed and the stylization. One noticeable difference, however, is the manner in which they approach their analysis. In fact, one close study of the two methods of analysis shows that discourse begins from where stylistic stops. Okay, now let's get into stylistic analysis. In stylistic analysis, we will explore certain linguistic feathers, which is graphology, semantics, and lexis. First, we're gonna talk about graphological feathers. Foregrounding is one predominant feather used in this paragraph by the speaker, which is realized through a particular lexical item. For example, the first person plural pronoun we as used in the paragraph is a foreground. It is repeated 3 times in the paragraph. This is used to show that the achievement recorded so far in the area of security is a collective effort by both the government and other well-meaning Nigerians. So the next one is parallelism. So parallelism is one vital stylistic device that is equally used to reiterate and emphasize the idea of collectiveness. The speaker willfully uses the word we to begin both sentence 1 and 2 to further emphasize this. And the next one is syntactic feathers. Syntactic feathers are formal properties of syntactic objects which determine how they behave with respect to syntactic constraints and operations such as selection, licensing, agreement, and movement. And the next one is semantic feathers, collocation. Collocation is a group of 2 or more words that like to hang out together. Here are some examples of common collocation that you might know. Make tea. The example is I made a cup of tea for lunch. Do homework. The example is I did all of my homework yesterday. And the next one is connotation. Connotation refers to a meaning that is implied by a word apart from the thing which is described explicitly. Words carry cultural and emotional associations or meanings in addition to their literal meanings or denotations. For instance, Wall Street literally means a street situated in Lower Manhattan, but connotatively it refers to wealth and power. Okay, now let's get to discourse analysis, cohesion, and coherence. During discourse analysis of the paragraph, we can see that the paragraph is coherent if there is a cursory glance at the sentences. The paragraph is tied up by grammatical cohesion, and there is a linear progression of the ideas from the beginning of the paragraph to the end that essentially brings out the beauty of cohesion. And the next one is ellipsis. Omission of some words and phrases is obviously intentional. Example of ellipses are used in paragraph or example of ellipses as used in paragraph are from day 1 we purposely set out to correct our condition blank to change Nigeria. The phrase that is intentionally omitted to create certain effects on the hearer. This means that to correct our condition means to change Nigeria. And the next one is reference. Anaphoric reference in a paragraph draws the attention of the hearer or reader to a preceding text. In this case, all of the sentence above is the example. Revelation of power and ideology. The choice of words and tone of the speaker obviously unearths power and ideology. Some words that connote military ideology of the speaker are change, correct, reinforce, defeat, rotate. The conclusion, shall we? Discourse and stylistics are linguistic disciplines that analyze text in an attempt to establish principles in explaining the particular choices made by individuals and social groups in their use of language, which by extension produces and reproduces meaning. While discourse analyst approaches his analysis by looking for such things as the textuality, coherence, and cohesive interplay of the text, which by extension could reveal ideology and power inherent in a discourse. The stylistician, on the other hand, analyzes the style and pattern of language used in a text. Discourse is concerned with language in use, analysis of language in social, political, religious, and cultural contexts, and also conversational analysis, speech acts, cooperative principles, and so on. And stylistic major concern is the idea of style and what informs the choice of such style. One common denominator between discourse and stylistics is that both have text as the object of analysis. Okay, so that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope it helps you in understanding this material, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!